Hi, Eddie and Dexter. Well, I was in the garden today. It was a really cold day, but it was very nice in the garden. And while I was in the garden, I found some things. I was doing some kind of sorting around, and I found some little creatures that I thought that I might show you. And this is them. I wonder if I can get them close to you so that you can see them. Can you see what those little creatures are? There's one, two, three. There's a big one. Hold on, I'll get them closer so you can see. Come on, little one. This is actually one with another one on it. Can you see that? Can you see that? That's a little snail with another snail on it, and that little snail is thinking of crawling onto my finger. Can you see? It's got its little feeler things out. What snails do is they live in those beautiful shells, and then when they feel safe, they come out and they hide those little things, those little stalky things there. See these little stalky things here? They've got eyes on the end of those. You can't see them very well. They've got eyes on the end of them, and they all hide inside their shell. You can see the bottom of the big one. You can see the shell, the snail just beginning to come out of that shell. And this one's got this little one crawling on top of a big one. And then here, hold on a minute, you just go down there, guys. Here's a teeny weeny wee baby one. Can you see that little wee baby shell, baby snail, with its wee baby eyes peeking out and its wee baby neck? And it's just crawling along there on the board I've got it on. They have sort of slimy, frothy stuff on the bottom of them so that they can crawl along. And lots of people who are gardeners don't like them because they eat your plants. But, you know, I figure everything deserves a life. And also, birds eat them for their like dinners and things like that. So that's not so good if you're a snail, but it's very good if you're a bird because it means that you've got something to feed to your babies. And that's how things work, you know. I just dropped them on my computer. Poor little snails, poor computer. Anyway, I've got a story to tell you about snails because I was thinking about those snails and thinking about a story I might tell you about them. It's not a real story, it's not a true story, but it's a good story. And it happened in a time, not real time, but a time when there was a land and there was a lot of creatures living on the land. But for some reason there wasn't much food. There was just hardly anything around for them to eat. And the people were really hungry, and the lions were really hungry, the tigers were really hungry, and the rabbits were really hungry, the sheep, the cows, the dog, the cats, the giraffes, the kiwis, the possums, all the creatures, the little mice. Everything was really hungry because there was hardly any food to eat in that land. It was a terrible time. But there was a big tree, beautiful tree, growing in that land, and it was covered, all covered, with beautiful, beautiful fruit. The fruit was very hard. It wasn't ripe. You know when you get, like an apple or something and it isn't ripe and it's really hard. It tastes horrible and it's really hard to bite into because it's not ripe. Well, that was what the case was with this fruit on this tree. And they couldn't pull it off because it wasn't ripe. And so all of the people and all of the animals gathered round the base of that tree and made their houses around the base of that tree, waiting for that fruit to get ripe, waiting for the day. But then somebody who knew a lot, a very wise person, came by that tree one day and saw all the people and all the animals gathered around at the base of it, camped out, tents, you know, they'd made houses, everything, and said, wow, you'll be waiting a long time because the fruit doesn't fall off that tree, it doesn't get ripe until you say the name of the tree out loud. Wow. All of the people, all of the animals, all the lions, all the tigers, all the cheetahs, all the elephants, all the little mice, all the rabbits, all the kiwis, all the possums, all of them said, "Oh my goodness, wow, what's the name of the tree?" And he said, you'll never guess what he said. He said, "I don't know." What a predicament. But he said, it's okay, because I know who does know. And that is the wise woman who lives over the mountains on the other side of the mountains. So the animals thought, no problem. We'll send one of us to go and ask the wise woman what the name of the tree is. So they decided, first of all, to send the rabbit. The rabbit said, I'll go. So they said, okay, cool, Rabbit, you're a fast little fella. You run over to the other side of the mountain and ask the wise woman over the other side of the mountain, what's the name of the tree? He said, sure. So he set off, ran as fast as he could, up the hill, down the hill, to the wise woman on the other side of the mountain. And he came across her house, and there she was, sitting outside in the sun. She was drinking a cup of tea, actually. And he went up to her and he said, wise woman, we've got a big problem at home. She said, what's the trouble, little rabbit? He said, we're really, really hungry. We've got such empty tummies and our children are all hungry, and there's a beautiful tree there covered in fruit, but we don't know the name of it. Can you tell us the name of the tree? And she said, sure, Rabbit. It's called Uwangilema. The rabbit said, really? You sure? She said, yep, it's called Uwangilema. So he said, okay, thanks. And he went running back, running so fast. And suddenly he was going so fast, Uwangilema, that he didn't look where he was going, and he tripped over a tree root that was growing across the path. You know how sometimes trees put out roots, and he was running along, tripped over it, poof, banged his head. And when he sorted himself out, he thought, what was the name of the tree? And he couldn't remember. But he thought, I'm sure. Oh, it was something like Uwangi Pottle or something like that. Umugi Pol. I don't know. I'll try something. So he ran back, and all of the people, of course, and the animals were really glad to see him. They said, what's the name of the tree? And he stood under the tree and he said, Uwangi Pottle, and waited for the fruit to fall. But of course it didn't fall. So he said, Ubangi Bulu. But again, of course, the fruit didn't fall. And all of the people and all of the animals said, you must have got it wrong, Rabbit. And he said, well, I was going along and I just tripped over this tree root and then I forgot it. I'm sorry. And I said, okay, well, let's think again. I know, we'll send a cheetah, because a cheetah is very, very fast, but also really careful about where they put their feet. So they sent the cheetah. The cheetah went running all the way up the mountain, came down the other side, saw a little cabin, thought there's the wise woman, and so he went to the cabin, knocked on the door, rat-tat-tat, and the wise woman was just making some dinner. And she said, hello, cheetah, how can I help you? And he said, we're so hungry, and all our babies are hungry, and we don't know what to do. Can you help? And she said, oh, you want to know the name of the tree? And he said, that's right, yeah, the rabbit, he forgot. She said, okay, the tree is called Uwangilema. And the cheetah said, Uwangilema? And she said, yep, you got it, it's Uwangilema. So that she said, right, and he set off, faster than a speeding bullet, up the mountain, down the other side. He was speeding so fast, poof, he fell into a hole. Oh my goodness. And when he got himself back up on his feet again, you know it, he'd forgotten the name of the tree. So he kept on running very fast, though, because he's a cheetah, and he ran all the way down, got to the tree, skidded to a halt, stood at the bottom of the tree and said, bonky boo. Wow, of course the fruit didn't fall, as you can imagine. So all of the animals and all of the people looked at him and said, you forgot, didn't you? And he said, yeah, I'm sorry. there was a hole. I was running so fast, I just tripped into the hole. When I got out, I forgot. So they said, oh man, we'll have to send somebody else. Who's not going to trip in a hole? Who's not going to trip over a root? I know what. We'll send the giraffe. The giraffe isn't quite as fast as the cheetah and isn't quite as cute as the rabbit, but he's cool. He'll do the job. So the giraffe said, right, I'll do it. And he set off, loping his way, not quite so fast as the cheetah, but pretty secure, up the hill, up the mountain, down the other side. And again, he saw a little lamp outside the house of the wise woman. And he went up, and the wise woman saw him coming, and she said, hello, giraffe, how can I help? She was sitting down by the lamp, and she was just looking around her, enjoying the stars in the sky, because it got really late by this point, as you can imagine. So she said, I guess you're wanting to know the name of the tree again. And he said, yeah, I am. And so she said, well, giraffe, don't forget this. The tree is called Uwangilema. And he said, very solemnly, because he's pretty solemn, Uwangilema? She said, yes, that's right. Uwangilema. So the giraffe set off again, carefully lolloping along up the hill and down the other side. And all was going well. You know what he did? He walked around the hole, and he was very careful when he came to the tree roots. But he was just walking along, and he was nearly there, and suddenly he kind of was imagining where he was going to get to with the tree and everything. He was imagining how happy everybody would be to see him, and how amazed everybody would be when he made the fruit fall on the ground and everybody filled their tummies. He was feeling so pleased about this that he forgot to look where he was going. And you know what happened? Poof! He's so tall that he walked straight into a tree. A tree branch came across, hit him in the head, and he got all tangled up in the tree, tangled up in the branches and the leaves and everything, spitting leaves out of his mouth with his big long tongue. And by the time he'd sorted himself out, you got it, he'd forgotten the name of the tree. So he went back and he tried Ega Poggy Boo Boo and but of course that didn't work for a moment. The fruit didn't fall. So all the animals and the people decided at this point it was dark. They'd better have a rest and sleep for the night. So they did. They slept for the night. In the morning, when they woke up, all the babies said, oh, we're so hungry. And all the adults, all the grown-up rabbits and kiwis and possums and dogs and cats and lions and cheetahs and giraffes and elephants, all of those animals, they were all like, oh, we're so hungry. And they looked at the tree, but still none of the fruit fell. So then the lion said, there's nothing for it. I'm going to have to go. I'll go. I'm the best animal. I'm going to go. So they said, yes, good plan, lion. You're the best guy. You go. I'm fast and I'm smart. I'll do it. So they said, great, thank goodness. So the lion set off up the hill, up the mountain, running along very, very fast, very, very careful, very, very smart, down the mountain to the other side. And there he saw the wise woman, and she was just working in her garden. She was just planting some seeds and planting out some little plants. She was like you guys. She was really careful. She held them just by the leaves, and put them in the ground very carefully, smoothed the dirt around them very, very carefully and gently. And then she watered them in so that they would be able to grow. She was doing this, and the lion came up and she said, Lion, I'm delighted to see you. How nice to see you. How can I help? And the lion said, well, all those other guys, they slipped up one way or another. Can you help me with the name of the tree? And she said, of course. Lion, listen very carefully. He said, of course I'm listening carefully. She said, listen very carefully, Lion. This is the name of the tree. And she leaned forward and she said, the tree is called Uwangilema. Uwangilema? Got it, wise woman, said the lion. And he set off to run back to the village to tell all of the people and all of the animals what the name of the tree was. So he ran very carefully up, didn't go in the hole, didn't trip over the tree roots. He's a lion. Kept on going down the other side. But you know what? By this time it was getting near the middle of the day, and the sun was very bright and hot. He got so hot and so tired, he thought, I just need to take a little rest. I'm just going to lie down just for a minute, and then I'll get back and I'll tell them the name of the tree, and there'll be plenty of time to have all that fruit for dinner. Everybody will be really happy about that. So that's what he did. He lay down just under the shade of a tree because it was very hot. Just for a minute, you understand. But the sun was very hot, and he was very tired and very hungry. And you know what? He fell asleep. Yes, the lion fell asleep. And when he woke up, he said, must have fallen asleep for a minute there. Now, where was I? You know what had happened? He had forgotten the name of the tree. So he ran down the mountain as fast as he could, got to the tree, said, "The name of the tree is Polly Wolly Doodle." And nothing happened, of course. And they said, "You sure?" And he said, "Yes, it's Polly Wolly Doodle." No fruit fell, so he tried one more time. "It's Polly Wolly Doodle." But no fruit fell, of course, because that wasn't the name of the tree. So all of the people said, "What will we do?" The rabbit went and he was cute, but he forgot. The cheetah went and he was fast, but he forgot. The giraffe went and he was amazing, but he forgot. The lion went and he was fast and he was amazing and he was smart, but he forgot. And then do you know who said, "Oh God"? Can you imagine? It was someone who was very slow, not very smart. It was this guy. It was the snail. Now you can see that big snail has come out now. And you can see the big snail is moving along. But it's not very fast. See how slowly those snails move? So when all of the animals heard this, they said, "Oh, give us a break, you're so slow." He said, "But I'll get there, and I'll remember, and I'll come back and tell you the name of the tree." So all of the animals said, "Well, it's obviously not going to work, but we've tried everything else. Sure, snail, you go." So the snail went to set off. But just before she went in to see her mama, and she said to her mama, "Mama, if I really want to remember something, what's the best way to remember it?" And you know what her mama said? She said, "If you want to remember something, little snail, then you must keep saying it out loud inside your head all of the time. You must keep saying it and you must never stop saying it." So the snail said, "Okay, that's good advice. I'll try that." So the snail set out. She set out just after lunchtime, and as you can imagine, it was long and hot, but the snail kept going. And she kept on going, and she kept going, and you can imagine she's very slow. She had to dodge all those birds who would want to eat them for her dinner. She kept on going. When night fell, it was night, it was dark. But you know what? She kept on going, and soon, well, not soon, after a long time actually, she got to the top of the mountain. There, way down the other side, she could see the lights of the wise woman's cabinet, so she kept going towards those lights. She was very slow, But she kept on going. Here she is. You can just see her here. There she is. She had her little feelers out like that, and she was creeping over the forest floor and along the path, being very careful to stay away from places where a bird might eat her. There she is. She kept on going just like that little snail is, just like those little snails are. See how slowly she moves along? But she kept on going just like that. And do you know, the night had passed and half of the morning had passed. The next day had passed before she arrived at the house of the wise woman. And the wise woman was just sweeping her path. And she saw the little snail coming, and she said, "Why, hello, little snail. You look tired. How can I help you?" And the little snail said, "Can you tell me the name of the tree?" And the wise woman smiled, and she said, "Sure, this is the name, little snail. The name is Uwangilema." And the little snail said, "Uwangilema." That's right. Uwangilema. And the little snail said, "Uwangilema." And the wise woman smiled, and she said, "Yes, Uwangilema." So the little snail set out on the long journey back up the hill and down the other side, and it took her all the rest of that day and all of that night in the dark cold, and she went around the hole that she saw in the ground, and she went up and over the tree root that she saw that the rabbit tripped over, and she didn't lie down even though the sun came up and she got very hot. She just kept going. And do you know what she said all the way? She said, "Uwangilema, Uwangilema, Uwangilema." And when she came to the tree where the giraffe had got his horns tangled, his head tangled in the leaves, you know what she said? Uwangilema. And when she came to the hole in the ground that the cheetah had tripped over, do you know what she said when she climbed around it? Uwangilema. And so it came, and it was nearly dinner time when she came along the path, and there were all the animals and all the people gathered around the tree, and they saw her coming. They had to look very carefully because she was very small, but she was coming along the path. She slithered along the path. Here she comes. Slithering along the path. Look, she's got another snail on her back right now. And she's slithering along the path there. And as she did, she said, "Uwangilema, Uwangilema." I've got another snail crawling on my computer now. I'll just put this one up here as well. You just go up there, little one. "Uwangilema," she said. "Uwangilema, Uwangilema." There she is. And you know what happened? When she got to the tree, she stopped and she was so tired. All the animals and all the people were gathered around, and in her tiny little snail voice she said, "Uwangilema." Guess what happened? All of the fruit started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and golder and redder and more beautiful. And then one by one it went poof and dropped on the ground. And the animals bit into the fruit, and it was so juicy and so sweet and so delicious. And all of the little babies bit into it, and some of them didn't have teeth because they were so little, but they sucked on it, and it was so sweet and so juicy and so delicious. And then when they'd all full up, and they were full up right to the top, all of the animals turned to the snail and said, "Thank you, snail. You did it. You went to the wise woman, and you over the mountain, and you got the name of the tree. Thank you. We are all full and happy now. So that's a pretty good story, isn't it? About a snail. And now I've got these 3 little snails crawling around here. One of the babies crawled on top of the big one, and then the little in-between one is crawling along as well. This is just a bit of dirt that came off the bottom of the big snail. So I have to take them back out into my garden, and snails like to come out at night. I don't know why. I guess they like to eat things at night. Can you see that middle-sized one keeps on banging into the big one's eye, and so it keeps on curling its eye away because it gets a fright each time. They're really beautiful creatures, aren't they? All right, my loves. Love you all. See you. Bye-bye.